How's it going, everyone? Christian Duke from StrengthAddicts.com at Olympia Gym in Aventura, Florida with IFBB Pro Bill Wilmore. Bill, how's it going today, brother?
It's going good.
Awesome. Just a couple days ago, you had your Bill Wilmore Classic in Hollywood, Florida. So before anything, just talk to us about the contest, how you think it went. And I was there. I loved it. So
it went well. I was really happy with the turnout. It was like double the size from last year. As you know, any shows take some time to build them up to be really huge shows, and that's obviously what the goal is. But I was definitely happy with the turnout, and the amount of sponsors increased, and the amount of attendance was up. So I mean, you really can't ask for more than that.
Absolutely. So take us back, if you will. I mean, to when you very first got started training. I know a lot of people are going to want to know this. They're going to want to know. I want to know when you very first got started weightlifting, you know, in terms of bodybuilding, and then what inspired you to get on stage? Because, you know, that's a big choice for a lot of people that they often don't make.
Basically, I started weightlifting for sports, for football and wrestling, and then kind of just fell in love with it from there. I worked at Gold's Gym at the time in Pittsburgh, and there was a lot of inspiring bodybuilders that were there. Told me I had good genetics and that I should compete, and so I decided to do it. I think it was my junior year in high school, the first time I actually competed. Took second place at the Mr. Pennsylvania, and then the following year I went back and I won the Teenage Pennsylvania.
Okay. And then from there, I saw that as early as 1989 you were competing, and then I saw that you did I believe it was a Junior USA. So you were actually, like, once you did that Junior USA, correct me if I'm wrong, you never really went back to the local level. You always stayed at the national level, pretty much.
Yeah, I won Mr. Pennsylvania, and other than that, that was the only other show until I moved down here to Florida, and I had to requalify. I took some time off competing, but I did the Florida, and I won my class there. And then two weeks later, I took second place at the Nationals.
So, you know, we were talking off camera a little bit about how you set up, some people said it took you a long time to go pro, and how you were constantly doing the Nationals and the USAs. And like I said earlier, I don't think you ever did the North Americans or the Team U. It was always about Nationals and USAs for you.
Yes, it was. And also, too, like the first time I did the Nationals, I don't remember my age, but I think I was like 22 years old.
Wow.
So, and in those days, I mean, not to take anything away from the guys then, I mean now, but I mean, it was like you were talking, you know, Jay Cutler and Craig Titus, and there was a lot
Tom
of
Prince
really good guys. I think the first time I did the Nationals, I would like to say, I think like the whole top 10 people turned pro eventually at some point. So you don't necessarily get that right now. You don't really get that now.
And I'm thinking too, the conditioning also in those years. I mean, just from the people that you mentioned and some of the people that I can, you know, come to mind, the conditioning seems to be like a whole league of its own. I mean, like, it seems like in the 90s especially, guys would come in just totally, you know, ripped to the bone.
That's because now everybody's pushing for everybody to be bigger. So it's like, as you know, with your coaches and yourself, you decide on the look that you're going to try to achieve. And sometimes you just think that, you know, you just have to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And a lot of times that's not the best route for you to go for your structure. And that's how a lot of times you see guys just kind of either messing up their physiques or just losing that look that you need to have to be able to be a winner.
Absolutely. Now, you said that you never did more than one national level show a year. Why was that? And also, if you could talk to us about getting sponsored as an amateur, which again I still think is rare today.
Well, because I couldn't afford to do and put my all into it. A lot of guys might do 3 or 4 shows and they're saying, okay, this is going to be a warm-up for the next show. I wasn't really a fan of that. I was pretty much like, okay, I have this much money and this much time, and I'm going to put my all into it for this show and see what happens.
And you were signed to a pretty good contract, you were telling me, as an amateur?
Yeah. I signed with Biotech the year before, like, I think it was like about 8 months or so before I actually won my pro card. And obviously that was a great help.
I remember them. They used to have Sean Ray and Melvin, yeah. So what was it like taking second those 2 years at the national level and then finally getting your pro card?
Well, it was like one of those things where you really grew like of an athlete, because I actually felt like I turned pro before I turned pro. I mean, to me, being a pro always meant like, you know, being able to make some kind of income from it. And after the second time I turned pro, you know, I signed a nice contract with Biotech, more than fair for an amateur athlete. And I was doing some traveling, doing some guest appearances and stuff. So to me, I kind of felt like I turned pro, you know, because, you know,
you'd made it, yeah.
If you get a pro card and you don't really get an opportunity to do anything from it, it's kind of like, okay, are you really a pro?
Right. And I guess, you know, that is a big thing too, is to be able to be self-sufficient, to make money, to have a good contract, because also with a good contract, I think more press comes your way. So when you finally did get that pro card, what did you see as the next step for Bill Wilmore? What was the next chapter in life for you?
Well, definitely the goal was to win the overall at the Nationals the following year, which I did. And I was really looking forward to the opportunity to do some traveling and go places that, you know, bodybuilding can take you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really great opportunity. I got some really nice guest appearances and got to travel and work with Sean and Melvin. Really an opportunity to learn the ins and outs of what it takes to be a pro.
Absolutely. And sort of backtrack just a second, as it just came to mind. When you said that you took second those times, and you said that the press, you know, they were questioning you about, oh, did you feel like you were robbed or you should have won? Talk to us about your approach to that, and maybe in so doing, you can hopefully influence athletes today that might find themselves in a similar situation, not to fall, you know, prey to, let's say, immaturity or possibly not the most professional decorum.
Well, the way I looked at it was, no matter what your opinion was that year, the year previous, with me and Chris Cook was the guy that I was fighting with for that title. Obviously, he had his people that thought he should have won, and I had my people that I thought I should have won. But at the end of the day, he won, and that was his day, and that's his glory. And I never said, oh, I should have won the show. I just think a lot of times you make yourself look bad because for whatever reason you think that you didn't win. And that's his day. That's his national title. He deserves that, and he deserves the glory that comes along with that. And I didn't want to put take any attention from him away, trying to be like, oh, you know, oh, Bill should have won. A lot of people said that, and that means a lot to me, that a lot of people thought that I should have won the competition, but I didn't win, and that was his day. And I think a lot of times people, like for instance, I had a guy compete in a show and send me a message talking about her boyfriend should have won the competition, her husband or whatever he was, and I thought it was very distasteful because at the end of the day, I'm not a judge. I do coach athletes, but there was no way of anybody knowing that I coached him. I didn't post any pictures, and to say that, you know, I mean, here I am trying to build a competition for my future. Well, me training a couple athletes on the side, I obviously want my name to grow with me building a business for myself, not with me training a couple athletes that I know in the gym that they did great. And here again, for whatever reason, just like I was saying earlier, you didn't win. That's his day. There's always going to be an opinion of everybody always think they should have won every show.
Sure.
But it's different when you have to talk about it in a way like that. It just, to me, it's just not, I'm not like that, never will be like that, and nor will I ever let any of my athletes be like that. Because the next time you come out, no matter what, you can always work harder, you can always look better. If I would have thought negatively by me not winning those shows, then I would have never gotten all the glory that I got later on. For whatever reason, I didn't win. But when I did win, it was a great feeling. And there's always going to be people, only the winner is happy at competitions.
Yeah, you know, and in, again, I know it's an overused term, but, you know, the physique-based sports are very subjective. And again, I mean, it's apples and oranges.
Prime example, when you talk about men's physique, you're talking even more apples and oranges.
Sure.
They don't want, it's not bodybuilding.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, it's not a bodybuilding show. So somebody can be ripped, harder, more separated than somebody else, and lose the show.
Right. Well, I mean, if they come in too ripped, for example,
exactly,
then that's
or
bad.
Somebody else has better structure and better V-taper. So a lot of times you don't. It's really hard to just jump to conclusion. Just jump on the politic bandwagon when it's to your advantage.
Which again, the whole politics issue again, I think is really, really exaggerated. A lot of times, you know, people say, "Oh, it's politics," and it's really. Yeah, it's just really, it's a subjective. Yeah, I will never judge just for that. You know,
what are you gonna do?
Couldn't do it.
I mean, I've been competing for over 20 years. Are there shows that I think that I should have placed better in? Absolutely. Are there people that thought that I should have placed better in shows? Absolutely. But I'm not the only athlete that's in that shoes. Anybody that's going to compete for 20 years is going to have many shows that they think they should have won and they didn't, or vice versa. But you can't get caught up in that. You can't control that.
Absolutely.
So you just suck it up, work on your improvements, get opinions from the judges, and come back better if this is something that you want to continue to do.
Absolutely. So let's stay on this topic of winning. Take us to Toronto, where you won that show, and also talk to us about working with Ultimate Nutrition, who you've been with for 3 years, I believe.
Yes. The Toronto Pro Show was my first pro win. It was a great feeling. I placed everything from 5th to 2nd in many shows for many years, so it was a great feeling to actually finally win one. And Ultimate Nutrition's been a blessing, you know. As you know, it's very hard to compete at a high level with the amount of time that you need to put into this without a backing. And they support me in all my competitions and everything that I do. So I really appreciate the opportunity to work with them.
What I like about Ultimate Nutrition also is that, you know, over the years I've seen a lot of their sales materials, a lot of their catalogs, a lot of their ads, and you're all over it. So it's, you know, it's one thing to, you know, be signed and, you know, get a check and then never really be seen or heard of, but they actually have you front and center on a lot of things. And they also are the title sponsor for the Olympia, and they, you know, the muscle juice product, I used to use that for years. I mean, they put out really high-end stuff. As far as competition goes for you today, what are, you know, your plans? What are you thinking about doing? Not, without, you know, necessarily telling us any particular shows, but where are you right now in your career?
Well, I'm not sure exactly which show. I'm actually in training right now for something coming up soon. Which one, I'm not totally sure yet. I have to figure it out, but I'm going to do a couple and take it from there.
But you also do contest prep also, right? I mean, so not to say that you're being pulled in two different directions, but in a way you kind of are, right? I mean, I'm sure your clients want to get all your, I mean, right now, even like as we were doing this interview, one of your clients wanted to talk to you. Yeah. So what's contest prep like for you as an athlete and also as a guru?
I don't consider myself a guru.
Well, I don't think
like the word guru.
I don't even think gurus will actually say, "Hey, I'm a guru." But I mean, if you're good enough, eventually, I think, you know, you get thought of as one. So, what's the experience been like for you?
You know what? It's great. It's like one of those things where I'm at the back end of my career, and luckily, over the years, you know, I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of amazing coaches. One being Hani Rambod. Man, I can't say enough from the things that I've learned from him, and he's really amazing with manipulating people and just actually getting to actually learn from him has definitely been a blessing, and it's something that I can carry on obviously I'm not Hani, or I don't do everything like Hani. But it's impossible to be with somebody that long and not learn from him.
Sure. Okay, and then I guess if we could talk a little bit of shop here about bodybuilding today. I have a few questions, so I guess pick the one you want to answer, or all of them, whichever. Like I told you off camera, I'm a big Phil Heath fan, but there's a lot of people out there that think Kai Green should be Mr. Olympia. I personally don't know what the heck he could do to get the title. I will say that I didn't tell you this off camera, but I will say it on camera. The only issue that I have with Kai is perhaps sometimes his posing routines are a little out there, but I don't think that affects whether or not he's a champion or not. But I guess my question to you would be, what could he do to be Mr. Olympia, or is it pretty much Phil's show? The other question I would have for you is Big Ramy, who's got a lot of attention right now. My thoughts on him, I've never really seen him dialed in, but I'd be curious what you have to say. And finally, the whole issue with the gut, the distended gut that, has been talked about quite a bit this year. And any or all, if you'd like to share your comments.
I'll start with Kai is an amazing athlete.
Yep.
And obviously he's trying to do everything humanly possible to beat Phil. And that's really hard. I mean, not only does Phil have amazing work ethic, he's got Hani that really knows his body inside and out, and really they work really well together. And genetically, Phil's just superior from a lot of guys. And so I hate to say, like, he might need to be off for somebody to beat him, but it falls into those realms. I mean, but anything is possible, any guy can come out. There's a lot of guys that can bring it, make some changes. Next thing you know, they're battling right up there with him. I don't like to think it's just a Phil Kai.
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, Sean Roden is just spectacular.
Amazing.
I'm a Dennis Wolf fan, but I just structurally don't know that really, I don't know. And Dexter Jackson's always dangerous.
Right.
We were even talking about Dexter before the interview, so 45 years old, it's just like he's ageless. So, and as far as the other two questions, Big Ramy or the gut?
As far as the gut goes, I think the gut started with everybody just trying to come in so full.
Okay.
It's a really tough subject because it's like, you go back and you're flat. So of course everyone's like, if you're flat, what do you need to do? You need to eat more.
Right.
But a lot of times, it's not enough time, and next thing you know, it's your stomach sticking out, and you're going to get marked down for it.
Do you think, just quickly, do you think possibly it's a question that maybe some guys relax a little bit on? Like, I know there's such a thing as relax in between poses, but there's relax and then there's just let it out, you know?
No, for sure.
It's
definitely something you need to practice. It's one thing if you're not aware, if you're not thinking of it a lot of times. So I think a lot of guys kind of hang with that too. So that's something else that helps.
Definitely. And as far as Big Ramy goes, just a lot of hype there. People saying he's a future Mr. Olympia and so on and so forth. What's your take?
Oh, he's a freak, I mean, definitely one of the biggest freaks that's come around in a long, long time. And as far as, future Mr. Olympia, we have to wait and see, Obviously, he doesn't have the conditioning and the separation like the top tier guys in the Olympia yet, but who's to say that he can't get it, But here again, there's a lot of people that, we're supposed to be future Mr. Olympia, so it's like one of those things where we just have to wait and see.
Absolutely. So I guess as we wrap up the interview, I always like to ask, if there's anyone you'd like to thank, for where you are today, and any shout-outs you want to send out, if you could do so now, that'd be great.
Definitely, most important, Ultimate Nutrition. Thanks for being there and helping me and supporting me with my career. It's been a great help, and look forward to continuing.
Awesome. And if people want to find you, online, social media, Is there a website that you want to plug, or Facebook or anything like that?
Yeah, they can look me up on Facebook or Instagram.
Just under Bill Wilmore?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, that's about it.
Okay. And then one last thing. I keep saying one last thing, and I keep asking you something else, but we're actually at Olympia Gym in Aventura, and I used to train here like 15 years ago. What's your relationship here? I mean, do you train here normally?
Yeah,
or?
No, I train here all the time. I've been here for years. I train people here. This is home.
Awesome.
It's been for a long time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview, and also for having me at your show. I really appreciate it. I had a blast there. For IFBB Pro, Bill Wilmore, Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com.